Gentlemen, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen Sewer Commissioners meeting for May 6, 2014. Selectman Slavin will not be here for a little while. He's tied up at a funeral, and when he gets here, he'll be back at the helm.
I move that
meantime, we need a motion
Mr.
for
Titlebaum be appointed clerk pro tem.
Do I hear a second? Second.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous. Could you call the roll, please?
Okay, present tonight, Mr. Chairman, are Selectman Holmes, Selectman Whiteside, Chairman Pro Tem Tropiano, Selectman Titlebaum, Town Administrator Sullivan, and Town Council Rich Bowen.
Announcements. Ms. Whiteside.
Thank you. I have a fair number of them. The first one is on May 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. There's a town-wide trash pickup. There will be dumpsters, I think, on Main Street, and we're hoping that all neighborhoods will be encouraged to pick it up and throw it away. On Saturday, Mr. Slavin and I attended the opening of the Wareham Girls Softball League up at Westfield. They have a new one field all set up, and they had opening day with 140 girls, which is really pretty awesome. The Wareham High School track team has improved their record to 2-1-1, and Maddie St. Julian has qualified in the Division IV championship round with her triple jump of 32 feet 7 inches. I don't think I could even walk that far. On this Saturday, the Lopes Playground Cleanup Day and onset is starting at 9 o'clock in the morning to about 1. We've had donations from Ace Hardware, Aubuchon, Conway in the Bay, Sand and Surf, Home Depot, Minerva's, Mark Anthony's, Stashes, Onset Cape Verdean Festival, and others. The JROTC cadets, as well as the Code Club, will be there picking up and cleaning up and making the Lopes Playground a little safer. There is a multicultural celebration on May 17th at the Charge Pond Campground Pavilion at Miles Standish State Forest. Learn how to shoot an arrow, paddle a kayak, ride a pony, make charcoal, twitter like a bird, build a Wampanoag shade shelter from pitch pine, campfire bread making with somebody, and great foods by Little Red Smokehouse. Have fun and watch out for the traffic. And then last, I have the Wareham Gateman Baseball Inc. is looking for housing for college baseball players. They arrive June 1st. I think we're looking for about 7 beds still. Hosting a player will include a small stipend. You are only required to provide a bed, usually the long ones, and breakfast materials. If you have any questions, just go on the Wareham Gateman website and you'll find the way to see who to contact. Thank you.
Steve, anything?
Yeah, 2 quick brief things. This week I was around quite a bit, but the one shout out tonight is to Abby Glass over on Tyler. Sadly, I discovered I had a broken windshield, and I don't think that's too safe to drive around with. And I went over and met with Mrs. Walsh, and they'll be replacing the glass tomorrow. The one thing I didn't know about Abby Glass was that on the other side, there used to be a car parts place. Mm-hmm. Remember that?
Yep.
That's now like a consignment, some new consigned stuff for kids in sports. Hockey, football, golf, baseball, that other thing they play, lacrosse, I think it is. So if you have needs for your children in sporting goods at a really good price, you can go over by Abbey Glass and take care of that and visit them. There was really a whole bunch of stuff there, even golf stuff, if you're interested. The second thing is, just to give a quick update, You know, we're trying to relocate our Osprey down in Onset. So I didn't get an email out today, but here's where we're at. Basically, after this is over, I'll be sitting down with Mr. Sullivan just to verify that we're good to move forward. We have a pole. It's currently white. May need to be silver, but right now it's white. I did confirm today with Mr. Campina that there's a pump station there, and that he had no issues with us putting the pole inside the fence so that kids couldn't mess around with it. We have a gentleman who is willing to make the platform, so that's all set. And then we just have to get a schedule to get the auger down there and put the pole in the ground. So, it's going to cost a couple of dollars. I don't see it costing very much money. Those who have offered to donate, we'll put something out, but I would think we don't want to make a dime more than it costs. I don't want to get involved in that. So I'll talk to Mr. Sullivan after, but I think probably a check to the town of Wareham with Osprey platform or pole or something in the memo section. And I'll coordinate that with him and then post something so everybody knows how to do that. But we don't want everybody sending a bunch of money in, just enough money to cover the costs. We don't want to have extra money. Thank you.
Mr. Titlebaum.
Yes, there are just a few brief ones. First announcement comes from the Minor Forest Committee and the Open Space Committee. Members of the Open Space Committee helped out the Minor Forest Committee by marking new trails in the Minor Forest. These are in the area of Peter Cooper Drive. The Open Space Committee members who helped were Joe Leggett, Brian Litchfield, and Brian's wife, Nicole. Also, there are apparently new trails out in the Westgate Conservation Area that was officially opened last fall in honor of Doug Westgate, the late chairman of the Conservation Commission for many years. So apparently you can go out there. I believe there's a guide to Wareham trails on the open space page on the town website that's downloadable. If not, we should get one up there. But I also believe there's one you can pick up in Town Hall. On a sad note, this week the town lost Bud Kalinowski. He was a former selectman in the town of Wareham for 2 terms. He was a veteran of the Army. He was a veteran of the FinCom. He served on this board in the 1980s. He's the reason that Selectman Slavin is not here. Selectman Slavin's wife, Mr. Kalinowski, was her stepfather, and they're attending the services tonight for him. So in honor of Mr. Kalinowski, may we have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Now, Selectman Whiteside has something to say about what the board, which he would like to have the board do to honor Mr. Kalinowski.
I've managed to talk to everybody except Mr. Holmes, but Mr. Holmes, I'm sure that you'll think this is a great idea, I hope. I'd like the Board of Selectmen to purchase a tree that would be planted on the town green and have a plaque at the base of the tree. The town green is looking a little sad in terms of the trees around there, and I think that would be a fitting memorial to him. Is that all right with you, Mr. Holmes, too? Yeah.
Thank you. One last thing. It wasn't exactly last week, so we were in town meeting the week right before then. I returned vacation on Sunday and was able to attend the afternoon portion of the Wareham Village Association's Oyster Festival. And even though the weather wasn't beautiful out, it was in the mid to upper 40s and a little breezy and a little cool. It seemed like it was quite a success. Reports from the WVA president, Bob Brady, are that the vendors who came were all happy and are looking forward to coming next year, which means they must have made some money this year. So that's a good thing. They're hopeful next year to get even more vendors in, to have even more events, and to really ramp up the promotion of oysters in the town of Wareham. I know Selectman Slavin has been working with the Division of Marine Fisheries to get a tie-in so that the marketing of a Wareham oyster can begin. So there's a bunch of things going on there, and that's all I have for tonight.
Okay, announcements. No, is everybody else all set? No, okay, good. Citizens' participation. Anybody here to speak to us this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on. Can we move, with the indulgence of everybody, I want to move up to the capital bond. I want to do that first, if that's okay. All right, go ahead, Peter. Come on down. You're the next contestant.
Just
Hello.
have one quick item this evening.
Yep.
That's the $397,000 school band, which they purchased textbooks and computer technology. Went out for a one-year ban. We had 3 bids. The lowest bid was a net interest cost of 0.60%. That bid was from Eastern Bank, and we need a vote this evening to accept that.
Okay.
Any questions?
Oops, excuse me. May I just suggest that you explain what a ban is?
Yeah, BAN is an abbreviation for a bond anticipation note.
And
So it's short-term interest. At the end of this, we're actually going to be paying this down. This will be borrowed over 5 years. The interest on this one-year note will be $2,375.38, which is the 0.60 net interest cost.
I move that the town authorize a $397,000 bond anticipation note to Eastern Bank at a net cost of 0.60.
Second, anybody?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? It's unanimous. 500. I'm 400, sorry.
Thank you. And there is a packet. You have a packet.
Yep, we got it right
Have
here.
it right
We'll
here.
sign it up for you, and you'll be, I think we have to do that in front of the clerk, don't we?
Today is the clerk's birthday, so
I
she's
think-
watching this on TV, actually, and she's going to certify your signatures based on this.
Okay, all right, good. I knew that she needed
She
to
is?
see our signatures. so-
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We take your
Uh,
word.
Already spoken to, okay?
Okay, that's good, as long as she knows that she
We'll start
watches us sign
signing,
it. All right, so let's sign it, so she can see us sign it, obviously.
I do have one question here. It says the clerk certifies. You're typically the clerk, but not tonight so far, so
Well, but we voted while you were acting clerk, so you'd have to sign it, I would guess.
that's what I presumed, but I wanted to ask counsel, and I'm getting a nod, so I guess that's the deal.
Okay, she saw, I hope she saw it.
I'm sure she did.
It's only him, it's only the.
No, I know, but
You're gonna leave that one, I've gotta sign the actual, then I'll pass this.
why don't you sign those too?
I'm getting stuff going to you guys. For you to sign.
Yes, dear. Do we have to assure her that this is our free act indeed?
There was actually, in that packet, there was an actual vote that the clerk is signing. There should be, okay,
Yes.
and that's
The
in
TV
there.
will reflect there's no guns being held to our heads.
Just one page.
Yeah, just one on this one, yeah, but there'll be another couple in a second. Peter, you can have all this stuff.
Hang on.
Oh, no problem, I'll take that back. I'm going back to the office.
This makes for good TV, huh? I'm sure they're out there saying, "Ah." Yeah, no kidding, huh? Oh, you guys will miss this one. No, those are the clerks. This is the only one you missed right here. So if you guys could both sign that, then we'll give it to, coming down to you in a minute.
You haven't signed that one. Derek, could you
You missed this one too.
pause those?
Yeah, I don't think Steve got this one.
Steve didn't sign any of those yet, I don't think.
But they haven't made it that far?
I don't think so. Okay, Judy, you missed right here. Steve, could you sign those?
Did you, is that Steve, or is that you?
That's me.
Steve hasn't done that one.
Steve hasn't signed any of this. Okay, here you go. I just double check this one.
No.
That side's the clerk side. I'm looking at our side here. Okay, good. All right, that
And one more.
hang in there. This is real exciting TV. We should have music, or somebody can like come up and do a dance or a show or something when all this is going on. Huh?
No, wait a second. This is not.
Not a what? I know what you're gonna say. Come on.
Would have been a good time for a Lion King
All
recitation.
right, so those are all signed. If you can put that together, and then we'll go back up to change of officers for 99 restaurants. If you please.
Let me just check, go through here one time, just make sure we got everything.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Foster. All right, Peter, can we go to the change of officers for 99 restaurants?
Yes.
Okay.
We have an application before us, Form 43, for the change of officers for the 99 Restaurants of Boston LLC, doing business as 99 Restaurant and Pub. Address is 3013 Cranberry Highway, Wareham. Manager Todd Cardero.
I think they do this like every couple of years.
Yeah, I think this is the fourth time.
Yeah, so it's no big deal. Can somebody make a motion?
Is all of the paperwork in order?
Yeah, it's all
Yes, it's there. Checked previously. Okay, I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the change of manager for the 99 Restaurants of Boston LLC, doing business as 99 Restaurant and Pub. Address 3013 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Massachusetts. And the new manager will be Todd Cardero.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous, 400.
400.
All right, let it known that Chairman Slavin came in, it's 7:22. 7:22.
722. I'll put it on here for the minutes.
Pledge of license for liquor locker will be next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. He said
Give us
keep
1
going.
second here, and what I'll do is transfer the documents over to our.
Actually, he said to keep going for now, he's trying to get situated,
Okay.
so we'll just keep on going for the time.
Okay. If you would let us know when you're ready, so I can officially
Clock you in.
clock you.
For instance,
Okay, Mr. Chairman, this here is another form, pledge of license.
right.
Licensee is the Liquor Locker, Inc. Manager Pranav Parekh. Address is 3021 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass. 02538.
Good evening. I'm Michael Kiernan on behalf of Mr. Parekh. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
It's obviously, he's pledging it. Who's he pledging?
Webster Bank.
Webster Bank, okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
When I was a banker, I was a commercial banker,
Yes.
and we thought that these pledges were not enforceable, to be honest with you. We took them, but,
I may not differ with your opinion, quite frankly.
thank you.
But it seems to be the requirement that the bank is putting on him, and it falls within 138. And if I owned a liquor store, I'm not sure I'd be wild about it either. But that's what he's been asked to do, and he does get a better interest rate. He's refinancing
I
for
see
his
that, yeah.
business. So
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, the file's all in order.
Do I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the application from the Liquor Locker, Inc., Pranav Parekh Treasurer, to pledge the license to the Webster Bank.
Second.
Second, motion made and second. Any more questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? 400.
Approved 400.
Okay.
Will I receive something in the mail indicating an approval of that?
I think we can get it in our office. I don't know if they actually mail it. I think it's, I think it goes, okay,
Okay, so something
Yeah.
will automatically come to
yeah,
me.
so.
Something
Great.
should come.
Okay,
Yes.
If not, then just check with the Selectman's office.
great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, 4 one-day liquor licenses for bartender services. Next, please.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Fine, thank you. My name is William Fuller. I'm the owner-manager for the Bartending Service of New England LLC. My company's been hired for 4 separate events in the town of Wareham, for which we're making an application for special one-day licenses. I have been before this board before for previous events, although the composition seems to have changed since the last time I was here. With 4 applications, I wasn't sure if you wanted to address one by one, or you would like me to address all 4. I
Yeah,
wasn't
you
sure.
can just one by
Grab 'em
one
all?
so we can make
Sure,
our
I'll do 'em in
votes. 'Cause
chronological
the votes
order.
are obviously have to be
Okay.
done one at a time.
Yeah, the first event is taking place on May 9th at the Box Mill Hall. It is titled The Taste of Wareham. They're expecting approximately 150 guests from the hours of 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., and they're contracting to have 2 tip-certified bartenders on staff for that event.
Okay, Peter, everything's there, right?
Yes, been through the packet, all the required documentations
Anybody have any questions?
are
Have a
provided.
motion, please? Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we did. Our policy is out there because, Right, but,
10 days prior.
well, it's 15, it's 2 business weeks, yeah, 15 days. Unfortunately, right, but this clerk was on vacation for a week and a day. The one who handles this.
Okay, any other questions?
No.
Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
I move the Board of Selectmen approve the one-day, this is just a beer and wine license for the bartending service in New England LLC, William Fuller. The effective date of the license is May 9th, 2014. Authorized hour of sale, 6 to 9 p.m. And the description of the licensed premises is the Box Mill Hall, Tyhonet Village, Wareham.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, unanimous, 500.
That's for the school foundation.
That's a school fund.
Right.
Next.
You wanna take a second and comment on what that is so that we get a little advertisement?
Sure. You want to, Peter, you want to?
I don't have any more details I could offer you.
I know, Mr. Chairman, I know it's Friday night. It's the Wareham Foundation.
So the Wareham Education Association, I believe.
Tickets are $40 a person, or $30 if you're a member of that association. And they do a lot of good fundraising for the school, et cetera. So if you're around Friday night and you have a couple of bucks, it'd be a great event to go to. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, further in that, Mr. Sullivan has found the Wareham Week article, and if I'll quote from that, Foundation for Wareham Education is hosting the 3rd annual Taste of Wareham fundraiser on Friday, May 9th at Box Mill Hall. The evening of tastings and local fare will benefit the Foundation's teacher grant program. Premier sponsors, Buzzards Bay Brewing and Westport Rivers Vineyard and Winery, will be offering their locally produced beer and wine. Food samplings will be offered from several local restaurants, including the Stonebridge Bistro, Ella's Wood Burning Oven, Charlie's Place, The Narrows, Firehouse Cafe, and B&B Bar and Grill. During the evening, the Spring Grants Awards will be presented. In what has become tradition, auction items will also be available for bidding. Tickets are $40 for the public and $30 for Wareham Public School employees. The event is from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Box Mill Hall is located on 150 Tyhonet Road in Wareham. For tickets, email, what does this say? R. Gakidis, that's RGAKIDIS at ne-cat.org. Once again, that is RGAKIDIS at ne-cat.org.
Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Okay. Good luck for that one. All right, go ahead, next one.
Thank you. The second is an application for June 22nd, 2014, the service hours of 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. This is part of the Wareham Summer of Celebration Town Clam Bake. It's taking place at Zecco Marine on Main Street. Currently, we're expecting somewhere between 200 to 300 guests is what we're anticipating, and 3 tip-certified bartenders have been hired for this event.
Okay, any questions from the board? Seeing none, I'll take a motion, please.
Okay, I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the application from Bartending Service of New England LLC, William Fuller, for the sale of beer and wine on June 22nd, 2014. Description of the licensed premises is Zecco Marine, 2 War Avenue, Wareham. The authorized hours of sale are from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous,
Abstain.
500. Oh, excuse me.
I have to abstain.
All right, 1 abstention, so 401. 401. Okay, the last, go ahead, another one?
2 more, yes.
Go ahead.
Do you have a description for that one?
We could ask Mrs. Smith if she'd like to come
Good
forward.
to advertise these a little bit if we can while he's doing this.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you. It's Claire Smith. The townwide clam bake is part of the Summer of Celebration events. It's going to be held at Zecco Marine. It will be a full pit clam bake, which means it's all going to be cooked on hot rocks and seaweed. You'll have your choice of lobster, steak, or chicken. And then you'll have your mussels, steamers, corn on the cob, potatoes, linguiça, hot dogs, watermelon.
Oysters?
Well, I'm actually working on seeing if we might get a raw bar of oysters there as well. So hopefully we'll see if we can do that. The entertainment for the afternoon will be the New Bedford Shanty Chorus, who will be singing sea shanty songs. And I have to say that slowly. Tickets are $50 per person, and they must be purchased at least up until the week before. And you can go to our website for the information of where you can purchase the tickets. You can certainly give me a call at 508-295-4679. And again, the information's up on the website. So we expect it will be a great afternoon.
Awesome. Susan, yeah, she used to have hers there all the time. Thank you. Next.
The next event, also for the Wareham Summer Celebration, is the Wrap-Up Gala, taking place on July 12th, 2014. Again, this event is at the Box Mill Hall. The hours of service are 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Again, we're currently expecting 200 to 300 guests for this event, and 3 tip-certified bartenders have been contracted for service.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, I'll have a motion, please.
Okay, this is for the July 12th. I move the Board of Selectmen approve the application from the Wareham Summer Celebration Organization, Inc., for the date of July 12th, 2014, for the sale of all alcohol. The description of the licensed premises is the Box Mill Hall, Tyhonet Village, Wareham, and the authorized hours of sale are from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Second.
Do I hear a second? Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. It's unanimous. 500. Okay, you want to tell us a little bit about that one?
Sure. The Founders Ball on Saturday, July 12th, I have to stop and think of these dates because sometimes they all roll into one with 6 weekends of events, is going to be our big gala. We are anticipating having about 100 by 84-foot tent outside on the Makepeace property with full onion lighting. The Wareham Garden Club is doing all of the centerpieces and the decorations. There'll be bushes outside that will be all lit. It's going to be absolutely spectacular. The orchestra that will be playing that night is Buddy Montero. Buddy plays in Newport. He is a Wareham native. His music is absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure that when you purchase your tickets and come to the ball, you're going to have a wonderful time listening to him. The dance floor will be in the Box Mill itself, so that kind of separates the people who are coming from the band, so you're not trying to speak over the loudness of music. We are reaching out to area restaurants to provide stations of food throughout the night. At 7, 8, 9, and 10 o'clock, there'll be various food appetizers available to everyone. We've reached out to Johnson & Wales to do a birthday cake, which we will have for dessert with coffee later in the evening. And just today, I reached out to Dorothy Cox, who will be providing chocolate candy favors. So that's another exciting event that we're going to have. It's semi-formal or period dress, and we certainly would like to encourage period dress. We think it would be a fun night and a great summer evening for everyone in town.
Sounds like fun. You have a lot of stuff planned.
Mr. Chairman, before you move on, that one there on July 12th, is this beer and wine?
No, it's all
Well,
alcohol. That's why it's applied for the Wareham celebration.
No, because it's not, just check the app, double check the app, make sure it's checked off. It's not checked off on this one.
he read it. He read
I
it.
might have read it, but just make sure it's
Make
on
sure
the
it's
app.
on the form, Peter.
Make sure it's checked off, Pete, please.
Comes back.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, it's blank. It's all alcohol, right?
all alcohols on the sheet.
Sure. Actually,
Fourth.
the last one. Yes, this is an event taking place on October 4th,
October 4th.
2014. It's a wedding reception. Box Mill Hall, 100 guests, expected serving hours of 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. And currently, the client is contracted for 2 tip-certified bartenders to work that event.
Okay. Anybody with any questions? Could I have a motion, please?
I gotta wait for that one. Escaped me here, so let's get that one back.
He's
It's coming right there. She's.
no. He's got it.
Okay. Okay, no, this isn't the right one.
This is July 12th.
Ready to July 12th.
You want-
That's summer
October 1,
celebration.
October 4th. Here we go. All right. A bunch of these flying around. It's hard to keep track of. Okay, I move the Board of Selectmen approve the application from the Bartending Service of New England LLC, William Fuller, for a wedding reception at the Box Mill Hall, Tyhonet Road, October 4th, 2014. Hours are 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. for the sale of beer and wine.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining, it's unanimous.
500.
500. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Are you ready to come back?
Yeah, I guess I can come back to it.
Okay. I will turn the meeting back over to Chairman Slavin. It is now 7:36.
File together here.
Yep. The clerk's gonna, if you give a couple seconds, we'll put the thing together and
Tell me when you're ready.
pull stuff back together.
Thank you.
Maybe you could talk for a little bit or something.
Well,
You didn't do any announcements. Maybe you could do a couple of those while we're getting this together.
we can do that.
I'm sure you have some. You always
The
do.
Open Space Committee has a brand-new updated version of the Open Space Walking Trails of Wareham. I've given a copy to all the selectmen, and also the 3 newspapers have copies of the new book as well. Hopefully, it's also up on the town website. You can download it. All the trails have been walked, cleaned up, and are ready to go.
Thought we already heard that.
Did you?
Did you not watch the thing on your little iPhone? on your
No, I
mail?
didn't watch it during the wake.
That's
We didn't
all
have
right.
that there.
He didn't have, he's busy.
We did the Pine Fest, I believe, already? Yes.
Right down, Steve. Yeah, we did Pine Fest, yep.
Okay. Did we do Cape Flyer?
No.
Okay, Cape Flyer, 2014 Cape Flyer schedule improvements are announced. Hyannis, April 30th, 2014, Department of Transportation, Mass DOT, and Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority, CCRTA, today announced the Cape Flyer weekend rail service to Cape Cod and the islands will begin May 23rd, Friday, not February, May 23rd through Labor Day, with an improved schedule and new station stop at Wareham Village. Cape Flyer is a proven success in giving customers from Greater Boston area a quick, convenient, and car-free option to enjoy the attractions, the beaches, restaurants of Cape Cod and the islands, said Mass DOT Secretary and CEO Richard A. Davey. We also hope that local residents will use the Cape Flyer to conveniently enjoy all the fantastic region has to offer without having to drive. Cape Flyer trains in 2014 will include a station stop at Wareham Village to provide customers with another destination option. The new station will be located off Main Street near the Wareham Fire Department. By the height of the summer season, trains will include separate coaches for 2 of the service's most popular amenities, the cafe coach and the bike racks with tools for onboard tune-ups. The Cape Flyer's goal during the inaugural season was to provide a safe and reliable way to bring people to Cape and the islands without needing their cars, thereby reducing congestion for everyone coming to Cape Cod, said Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority Administrator Thomas S. Cahere. The first year was a rousing success, and we believe the second year will only be better. And that's basically it. Also, just, which is not in this particular release, the GATRA will be putting in an actual bus station at that location at a perpendicular angle to where the stop is, and they will be providing buses that will match up when the trains come in to provide service to the local communities in Onset and also into Marion, Rochester, and other surrounding communities. And they'll have a schedule that should be up fairly soon. You know, once we get more information, we'll give that to you as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Next up on the agenda is a discussion and vote to notice town election on the override referendum question pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C.
Okay. We have A and B there. We're going to have, I think Attorney Bowen is going to have to step in on this as well. We have, I believe, a motion that we have to make, because the motion has to be specific, because what we make for motion is also what goes on the ballot. So it has to be exactly correct, because if it isn't, it's going to be invalid. Do you have
Uh,
a
it's
motion
in
in
the
your
packet.
package, Patrick, or not?
I have, it says, shall Wareham, blank, be allowed to access an additional blank? Shall the town of Wareham be allowed to access
To assess.
assess an additional $4.5 million in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of general government, general budget? It doesn't say.
It's down the bottom. This is it here.
They actually did write it down
Purposes
the
of
bottom.
On the bottom.
I didn't see it, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
It's okay.
I didn't see it down there. Okay, so it says, shall the town of Wareham be allowed to assess an additional $4.5 million in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of funding town and school operating expenses for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2014? It's actually 2014, right?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay. Yes or no?
So moved.
That's the question.
Did you make the motion that I move? Is that what?
I said so moved afterwards.
Yeah, but
Before we do that piece, we have to come up with a date, because the iMove has a date.
June 17th.
June 17th.
It's, June 17th
That
won't work.
works. It works because it's only 35 days. We already checked.
Do you want to start over?
Are we sure?
Yes, we checked with him
we should
already.
do it again, 'cause I don't think we
35
read that.
days.
Up.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, good idea.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. A couple of things. I've written out a motion which would contains the exact language of the ballot question. I've summarized the purposes for which the override was passed as municipal and school operating expenses, which I believe is an accurate characterization. Your vote is very important because the question must go on the ballot in exactly the form that you voted tonight. In terms of and I have it all written out for you. In terms of timing, General Laws, Chapter 54, Section 42C provides that the town clerk must receive notice of the referendum at least 35 days before the date of the election. So you want to do your math. I did email Madam Clerk. I wasn't aware it was her birthday. Happy birthday, Marianne. Just to see if there were any other electoral issues that she needed to deal with. But at present, the only one that I am aware of is the 35-day requirement set by the statute that I quoted.
Okay, so I move to place a Proposition 2.5 override question on the ballot for June the 17th, 2014 election. The question to take the following form. Shall the town of Wareham be allowed to assess an additional $4.5 million in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of funding town and school operating expenses and capital expenses for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2014? Yes or no?
Second.
Do we have any questions? Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I have three questions. One, is the cost of a special election still 15 to 16,000? I guess through you to Mr. Sullivan. The clerk's not here, so I can't ask her.
Madam Clerk can give us the full estimate of it. We do have money in the reserve account to pay for this.
So the original question was, is it still about $15,000 to $16,000?
Yeah, I'm going to ask Madam Clerk about that again. I don't believe that it
I
reaches.
think that was the old number 2 years ago.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
like
think
15.
we've hit quite that level. You have a police detail, and then you have the poll workers essentially that are in
Printing
there.
the ballot,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
So printing
And
the
the
ballot
second,
costs-
and the second question, Mr. Chairman, I guess this would go to Mr. Sullivan as well, is where is this, whatever the dollar is, where's that coming from?
We have that within the reserve line.
And on the language, I didn't like the language that was printed here, obviously, because it was very deceiving. on where the money was being spent, is a copy of the actual town meeting. I saw that in here, so they talk about article. Mr. Bowen, through you to Mr. Bowen, I guess, Mr. Chairman. Is the actual article from town meeting printed on the ballot, Rich?
Mr. Chairman, through you to Selectman Holmes. A couple things. The actual form of the ballot question is incredibly unhelpful.
I'm sorry.
It's incredibly unhelpful. So you might say, well, why are you suggesting it? It's because the Proposition 2.5, Chapter 59, Section 21C, specifies the actual ballot language that we have to use. And so there's very little room for, I'll call it artful variation in terms of what actually goes into the question. So to answer the question, would the town meeting article go into the ballot language? The answer to that is no. However, we would include a ballot question summary of a nonpartisan nature, which would be something like this. A yes vote would fund the following items listed out. A no vote would not fund those items. And that's pretty darn close to the way the explanation would go.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Bowen, for that explanation, because I think it's, I know I'm in the minority, and I don't support this, but my question is, I think, pretty important, and it's not something to spread over lightly and just move forward with a quick vote, because whatever's in this language, if I'm reading your summary correctly, is what people are voting on. And if you don't include the right language in the ballot question and it passes, then you have to spend the money on what was in the ballot question. Is that correct? Mr. Chairman, through you to Mr. Bowen again to clarify that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to Selectman Holmes. You're exactly right. The purpose.
Just to clarify, yeah. I don't mean a pencil. I don't mean you have to write down a book. You know what I'm talking about.
No, Steve, I know exactly what you're talking about. Where it talks about the purposes, municipal and school operating expenses and capital expenses.
Right.
It's a broad net, but it comes out of a list of examples that the Department of Revenue has supplied as being legitimate, non-advocacy kind of descriptions of what you can do.
Right.
The key with these things is to make them broad enough to cover what town meeting voted, without making them advocacy pieces, which wouldn't be proper.
Right. Is there to the board? Thank you for that, and that's why I noticed you added Patrick and capital. To the board, is there a way to language this so that you include reference to the 5-year plan? One of my issues is after the first year, right? I have issues on we could all die in a plane crash or something, right? And people could choose to spend the money differently. So I'm just wondering if we can reference, it's not called a 5-year plan. It's called the budget. Oh, Larry, where are you when I need you? The term that Larry uses for the, I've lost the track of it, but it's not an override, it's called a revenue enhancement plan. Can you put something in there that speaks to that, or at least mentions it in some form?
Just wait.
Yeah, to anybody. Through the chairman.
Before we start, so everybody remembers that when we do an override, the override can be specified in some way for the first year. After the first year, the money goes into a general fund. There is no way to specify that's going to happen except by what we as a group and what the school committee, the finance committee, and the board of selectmen decide. It's how that works. There's no way to go past the first year. Right. And The problem we have is if you sit there and you're listing out, say, we're gonna do for the first year what we voted at town meeting exactly, which is what we intend to do, but if you do it as, if it's like an advocacy type position, if you do this, we're gonna get this, if you don't, you won't, then the whole thing becomes void, if I'm not mistaken. Because it gives you a very fine line of what you're allowed to do. Mr. Titlebaum.
Yeah, just further in this regard, there's any number of cases out there where municipalities, the officials who drafted these override questions, put them on a ballot, proceeded to embark upon advocacy in the question. They basically said, you know, shall the town be allowed to spend blah, 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 and if you don't, you're going to lose 5 cops, you're going to lose this, that, and the other thing. All the way up to the state Supreme Judicial Court, they've ruled that these things are invalid. They've invalidated elections over this. So the form of the question and how it is specified is extremely important. And this is why you won't see something like any reference to a 5-year plan in a question like this. You can't see a reference to a 5-year plan. Number one, as Selectman Slavin said, you can't earmark those monies going past the first year. The law simply requires that you specify at town meeting how you would spend it the first year. After that, it's up to town meeting to come back at the question again and decide how they're going to spend the subsequent years, the additional money that comes in as the override years go forward. As to the information, and again, I've looked at the actual cases in this, as Attorney Bowen says, you could certainly put that table that was presented in the appendix, I believe, at town meeting into the explanation. But you would want to be very careful with the language. You would want to say, by way of explanation, if passed, the override article would fund the following departmental increases. And have your table. After that, you would say, if not passed, these increases would not take place. Boom, the end, done. That's as far as you want to go with something, because the more you open your mouth, the more you're going to tend to be supportive of something or try to push it or do that. So really, that's what this is. But all we're doing tonight, just so everybody's clear, is we're not writing the explanation, we're not doing any of that. All we're doing is voting to call for an election and to make this the ballot question that appears on the election ballot.
Mr. Tropiano?
Actually, he said it exactly right, and there's really no sense to follow up.
Mr. Bowen, anything else to add?
No, sir.
Thank you.
You have a motion and a second on the floor.
Be a roll call vote.
Yeah.
Mr. Titlebaum?
Yes.
Mrs. Whiteside? Yes. Mr. Tropiano?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
This is just to put it on the ballot, right?
Correct.
Yes.
And I vote yes. 5-0-0. Next one up, we have, I'll give some background on this one. We voted at town meeting to go ahead and change the dates for the school committee, for the town administrator, capital planning, et cetera, to have dates that would actually work. In drafting the charter change, when we put it together, we neglected, and basically I take blame for this myself, we didn't put down as a special act. We put it down just as a charter change. And because of that, it goes through a different process. Mr. Bowen, would you like to explain what we have on this? And I do apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This particular charter change has followed the route that's set out in Chapter 43B, Section 10, the so-called minor charter change route. The first step in that process is to refer the proposed charter change to the Attorney General, who has 60 days to determine whether or not the proposed change is consistent with the state constitution. In this case, it's hard to see how it would be found unconstitutional, but there is a process to follow. Upon the Attorney General's approval, at that point, the question would go on the ballot for the annual town election.
That annual town election would be next year in April, correct? Thank you.
Okay, next is advice to the town administrator.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Mr. Holmes.
if you have to do something on an election, could you put it on this ballot?
No.
No,
Have
It has
go
to
back
be
to
an
town
annual.
meeting
No,
first?
the town meeting is fine. The problem is that it has to be an annual meeting,
Ah,
and it also requires the 60 days, which would also run into a problem.
got it.
Okay, advice to town administrator.
This is the usual item we have at the beginning of the month. Mr. Titlebaum,
Keep it up.
this is Whiteside.
Keep it down.
Jeez. Mr. Tropiano. Your turn whenever you get it back together.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm all set, thanks.
Mr. Holmes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Sullivan, through you to Mr. Sullivan, two items, I guess. One is my favorite subject, parking. I don't think anybody on this sitting here at this table is going to disagree with me. There were I got a bunch of nasty emails. I can deal with those. Listen, we've given away parking for so many years. We're cash starved. So I don't feel guilty about charging people for parking. What I would feel guilty about, though, is if you didn't bring us a policy that treated all neighborhoods fairly. And I told the citizens, after a very lengthy conversation on the phone, that I was positive that my fellow board members would never vote to treat one neighborhood different than another. If we pass a resident parking zone and put signs up, people on A Street, A through Z, will all be treated the same. And we don't play that game here. So, I'm looking forward to hearing more on the parking issue. And along with that, my lot down there with the cars in it during the day, looking forward to hearing about the cash collection. We got about another 3 or 4 weeks to go before we start collecting cash. The third thing on the parking thing was, I've been questioned 100 times, and I've driven by there, banged my head against the sidewalk. I got a couple of scrapes here on my forehead. And I go down to Hammond School. Everybody talks about Hammond School parking. There is no parking there. I can't find it. Alan told me that, because I called him, I was really perplexed over this. I'm taking a beating on this Hammond School thing. There's a little circular drive in the front. There's no parking at that school. What they did was, what did they do, Mr. Chairman? Did they move the fence, open the fence to let cars in?
Yes.
What happened there? It's not a parking lot, though.
They open the fence.
Right. So that was the only way they had parking at Hammond Street School. They took down part of the fence. So, I'm looking forward. We'll have a few weeks to go. So whatever we got to do to step up on the parking would be great. And my continuous recommendation to you is, there's a lot of buzz in the town. There's going to be an election in a few weeks. And I just keep advising you privately when we speak and here, don't take that grip for granted. That's not money you have. It's not money we have. It's not money the town can spend. It's never been done before. So just keep that in mind as you're continuing your plan, right? That's not passed yet. And you need to focus on both plans, but more importantly, you got to focus on what you got, right? And we've talked about that before. I think you're doing a bang-up job, as you know. And so those are my points. Mostly on the parking, though, because if we miss a day of parking down there, collection, I'm driving to Rhode Island. You know what that means? All right. Because I'm not gonna get in trouble if you miss a parking date. I'll be sitting out there with my 2 Maltese collecting $5 a car if you don't show up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Sullivan, the kiosks that we have on the upper lot and also on the pier, those are up and running now?
Yeah, they've been powered up. They're up and running. They survived the winter, and I believe that they are for charge for now. So they started the charge period, and the enforcement is starting. We know that we really start, on the weekends and sunny days, start pulling in, and we have 3 other locations that we'll be putting together on there as well. And we look forward to actually expanding some of the parking so that we have more people around.
On the residential parking that we're talking about, we voted as a board here to work on the residential portion first, and you'll be giving us updates as we try and put this together and get all the glitches and little bugs, as I say, out of it.
Yeah, there's, I think one of the things people need to understand is this is a multi-phase plan. We
Yes.
don't, unless we're going to sit here and hatch it out for the next 4 years and come up with the most perfect plan, so to say, this is something that we're going to start implementing and working through the locations. So, you know, I think it's something that's going to really help the residents. It's going to help the town itself, and I think once we get through the initial period, that's going to be educating everyone that I really think it's going to help the town as a whole.
The last thing I want to emphasize Mr. Holmes's statement about we have to make the assumption today that the base budget to have, that basic budget, that's what we have to go forward with. So as part of that, the override, whatever happens with the status of that, we have to continue, as I think Mrs. Donahue said it during the town meeting, and I've mentioned, other people have mentioned, that we have to continue the reorganization. We have to continue looking at every account and every department in town to see if there's anything we can do more efficiently, better service, less cost. We have to go ahead and do those things. We have to make some hard decisions on the police department, where we go as far as what coverages we have. We have to look for ways of basically sharing employees to cut down actual workload. We have to be able to move people around so we get more efficient use of people. And this is going to continue. We always bang away. My comment is regionalization. We do really have to look at our surrounding towns to see where there are areas where we might have a piece of equipment. They don't have it. They need it once or twice a year, renting out. I've been already approached. I told Mr. Sullivan about possibility of someone looking, for one of our employees, as we did with the planning department, of possibly leasing out an employee for one day a week, things like that. These are all things that we'll have to keep pushing at. We can't just sit pat and hope that the override passes. Thank you. Next.
All set?
All set.
Okay, next on the list is the discussion of pending issues, which I have the list of and everybody should have.
Okay. My question to everybody is, I'm not sure we're ready to sit there and go through this tonight. What I would ask is, and I'll put it off a few weeks, is to go through, I'd like to mark these things down. We'll use the too well-used phrase of low-hanging fruit, but I'd like to look at the ones that could be short-term implemented, the ones that would be mid-term and then long-term, and go through the list, and everybody just go through and mark them. Everybody already has this from before, Peter.
We had it before, but we don't have it in our today's packet.
Okay, well, I think we made an assumption everybody would have had it with them.
We can never assume things
That's
like
a
that.
bad assumption.
Well, I guess so, but that's, it's been given out once. I will make sure you have it again.
Anytime we should always
We
make
should
sure
always
they
get
put it in
it
the
again.
packet.
I will take care of that.
Thank you.
All right, but again, if you have it at home, fine. If you don't,
I
let
have,
them
do you want us to email you directly, or,
know. No, I'd rather have it discussed at the meeting, but go ahead and do it. If you want to send me a copy of your list with no action, I will take that.
okay,
All right?
yep, thanks.
What I want to do is come back next time and put together a game plan. This is a lot of work to do,
Yes, sir.
and we're already a month behind.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next on the list is hazard mitigation grant.
This came up from, I believe, a resident originally sent this in to us. I'll read this off. And this came from Janet. I don't have her last name here in front of me. Maybe it went to Janet here. I spoke with Sarah White from MEMA and asked her how the town would go about applying for hazardous mitigation grants. She said the board would need to put something together similar to the master plan committee, and the town would need to outline its goals, objectives to reduce hazards, as well as doing a risk assessment on hazards and how the town plans on correcting them. Some other towns applying for the grants are Fall River, Swansea, Mattapoisett. She said that Serpent is working with the town of Lakeville as well. She did recommend that the town hire a vendor or seek an intern to work on this project. At this time, grants are available. However, she said that she's expecting, there's no grants available right now, that there should be more grants available within 5 months. This particular program, I think, allows a savings to the residents, but unless we adopt this type of plan, it won't. It's a lot of work,
I have a
and
question.
it costs the town money to do it. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
It seems to me that when I was attending the MEMA, I don't know what the real name of that committee is, Mr. Buckminster is on it, and the chief of police, and I believe this issue actually came up. Am
Yes.
I?
I believe so.
Yeah, because it is one of the things that that group is looking at. How long a project is this? Do you have any idea?
Because this ties into a master plan,
Mm-hmm.
you could be looking at, depending on what you have for assets, anywhere from a minimum of 4 months with a lot of assets to as much as a year.
Yeah,
Um,
that's being really generous.
Well, I'm being, I'm going to make, again, use the word assumption that we already have a piece of this already done with our emergency.
With our emergency, we do, yeah.
They've been working on this quite a bit. But we're going to have to probably meet or have a report. Maybe Mr. Sullivan can get us a report back of where they stand versus what this package is, and we can go from there.
That probably is a good idea, sir.
But I told the citizen that we would look into it. It does have a savings for them if we do this.
Okay.
I'll come back to that in 2-3 weeks, Mr. Sullivan, good enough, or you want more time?
No, let's bring it back on the agenda and,
You tell me.
let's bring it back for the 27th. And if it's ahead of time, I'll ask for it on the Friday before when we post the agenda if we have more information. We'll make that the deadline.
27th of May?
Yeah.
Thank you. Go
All
ahead,
right,
Mr.
next
Tropiano.
is discussion RE Lopes Field.
This is Whiteside.
Yes, I think in my announcements, I talked about Lopes Field. Lopes Field is being worked on this coming Saturday, because it is not going to rain, from 9 to 1. And really, the effort has been spearheaded by two couples who retired to Wareham, who have grandchildren who use the playground. And they emailed us, and they were concerned about, the shape of the playground. And anyway, they have taken the bull by the horns, and they have put together a really great team of people. We have volunteers who are going to be sanding, raking, shoveling, painting, putting Band-Aids on, that kind of thing. So it really does show what interested citizens can accomplish simply by putting some energy behind their thoughts. And I really want to congratulate these two couples, and probably will present them with something, after we get this done. So this Saturday, it's really a dual celebration, because the Lopes Field and the Bobby Thornton basketball courts are going to be rededicated, and the playground will be picked up, cleaned up, painted, some landscaping done, and God help you, you mess it up. So we're looking forward to people who are grown-ups. Nobody under 14 really should be at the playground that day, and in fact, the playground is closed that day per Mr. Sullivan. And I expect to see all of you guys there too. Saturday.
Set?
Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
Just for the public's information, the forecast is for patchy fog and 67 degrees. That'll be good. Nobody will have the excuse that they'll get sunburned.
I have 5 containers of sunscreen. I have a first aid kit. I have shovels. I have snow shovels. I have rakes. I have gloves. I have hats. I have trash bags. I have paint. I have sanders. I have Patrick. Need I say more?
Be there or else.
I think we need food.
We have plenty of food. Many,
Not on
many
the corner,
vendors have been very generous, and the Onset Foursquare Church is actually opening its doors so that we can use the lavatory there.
We have just about what we need.
No, you asked for chainsaws.
Yes.
I said yes.
Okay, moving on, volunteer initiative.
Mrs. Whiteside, that was something you pulled out originally from Wellesley.
Sure.
I'm going to make a suggestion, depending how you want to go, that we see if we can get an intern to work with you to put this together. I think we have everything really available to us. It's just a matter of pulling it all together.
Yes, in fact, we do have a Wareham High School MIT graduate who has volunteered to work for us as an intern for the month of June.
This would be an easy job.
This would be an easy job for him, because obviously he's computer literate. This is part of Wellesley's website, and it gives you volunteer opportunities. Should I read it, I guess, maybe?
Read the front page.
Okay.
please.
Wellesley Volunteers is an initiative designed to bring together Wellesley residents interested in volunteering with Wellesley charitable and other nonprofit organizations or municipal departments and agencies that need volunteers. By utilizing an external website, Wellesley Volunteers will enable these groups to publicize their requirements for volunteers and will provide these individuals with a central source at which to find meaningful volunteer opportunities. And so this is something that people have talked about, that we have a lot of sort of scattershot opportunities, and we may not all coordinate our efforts. This would put it all in one place. It would be linked to the town of Wareham, but it would be the Wellesley Volunteers. And some of the volunteer groups would be Luminary Night, after-school programming, volunteer driving, suicide prevention, ESL, English as a second language, those kinds of things. And so really what it is a community of people who are willing to help somebody else out for a day, an hour, a week, or whatever. And I think it's a really good idea.
It is.
So
It's well
presuming
needed.
that gentleman shows up.
Mr. Sullivan, do you need to have that person do any paperwork, I believe, at Town Hall? Even though there's no pay or anything.
Well, we'd probably have to have a Cory.
Core report.
Yeah.
So when you have that person available, have them go to the town administrator's office, just fill out. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, Susan Green can do it.
Can she do it via email? Because he's in New Zealand right now.
I think so.
Yeah, we can send it, we can email him the form if he signs it, scans it back or something.
Right,
We just
okay.
need his signature.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right, next up is discussion and possible vote on policy 0208. Now, we amended this on April the 15th, 2014.
Just 1 second. We do have a citizen waiting for,
Yes, Mr.
Special-
Lockwood's still here.
yes.
You want to take that out of order, Patrick?
Which?
Bill Lockwood is here waiting for a
Item
special
K.
point.
Oh, okay. All
Plus,
right.
we have Gary, too.
Sorry, Bill. We should have probably jumped to this before. Getting keeping you waiting.
Always interesting to listen to the discussions.
All right, so, Mr., you're here for a special municipal status.
Yeah, the reason for the request, as you may know, I am a member of the Housing Authority, and that by statute has municipal exemption built into Chapter 121. I have been asked to become a member of the CPC, the housing representative, housing authority representative to that board. And since I derive a significant portion of my income appearing before principally the zoning board and the conservation commission, I'm making the request for special municipal employee status, so that I might accept the position with the CPC.
Discussion from the board, anyone?
No, I don't have a problem with this.
Pro forma.
I'll take a motion.
I make a motion, let's see, I make a motion that we we approve special municipal employee status for William H. Lockwood, an architect, to, let's see, in the vein that he's going to be the representative from the Housing Authority to CPC.
Second.
Mr. Bowen?
Does that work?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The rule on special municipal employee is that it doesn't apply to
Goes
the
to the position.
individual, it goes to the position.
Position.
So you would be, rather than designating the gentleman himself, you'd be designating,
The position, the Housing Authority position, okay.
well, and probably the CPC position.
Okay. All right, so I will withdraw that
Withdraw.
and make another motion. And the motion this time will be to approve the Housing Authority CPC position, give that special municipal status.
Second.
Mr. Bowen? You're shaking your head a little bit.
Let me try it. Move that the Housing Authority representative to the Community Preservation Committee be granted,
It's the same thing.
no, you didn't.
That's exactly what I
Mm-mm.
said. I said the representative of the Housing Authority to CPC. See, I can't make this, it's, the position is the Housing Authority representative to CPC.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can't just say, well, the only other way is to give all the people at CPC special municipal status, and that's probably not gonna happen.
Yeah, that would be the customary way of doing it.
Right, well, but we decided a long time ago, and it's a policy, that we do these on a case-by-case basis.
Mm.
It's also, Mr. Bowen, in our bylaws that the CPC is made up of set particular members, and this is one of them.
Mm.
May I ask what your problem is?
Well, there's a broad question.
We don't have that much time.
Oh, boy, we don't have enough time for that one.
Yeah, where's the couch and the pillow? No, it's just that the conflict of interest law provides that the designation is usually for a position and that usually arises in the context of a board-wide position. You know, I'm a member of the I'm not a member, but if I were a member of the Conservation Commission, it wouldn't be Rich Bowen who gets a special municipal employee position. It would be the whole commission. Designating it as, you know, the liaison from a particular board is not the way, in my experience anyway, that it's usually been done.
Well, but that doesn't mean it can't be done that way.
I'm not going to say it can't be done. I'm just going to say that it's not the well-trodden pathway.
Well, maybe we should hold this until next week, and maybe you could do a little more research.
I'd be happy to.
Oh, Mr.
I hate to
Chairman.
do that
Hold
to
on.
you, but
But
we
he
want to make
doesn't-
sure we do it right.
He doesn't
No,
need to come back.
absolutely.
You don't need to come back.
Okay.
One at a time.
Sorry.
Mr. Holmes?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if we're going to do that and just put it off till next week, I would suggest that we pull the language we used for Bill from the zoning board to serve on the Board of Health. We didn't make all the Board of Health members special employee status. The zoning board
That's
chairman.
true.
Mr. Ferrera. We gave him the special employee status.
Well, we gave the position that he
Well,
would
no, we
sit
didn't,
on the
Patrick.
board.
We
His
didn't give
position
the whole
from-
Board of
One.
Health
No, we
special
didn't do the
employee
whole board.
status.
No, we just did his position.
We did just the one position.
And not
But
named-
he's saying,
but not
he's
him
saying
as
in
an
that
individual.
case, Mr. Chairman, he's saying in that case that the whole Board of Health should have had special employee status.
Yeah, I know.
Rich?
Yeah,
We did it one way before.
yeah, I don't know whether I was there that night or
Yeah,
not.
okay. I'll give you that.
Because this is not ringing a bell with me. And Madam Moderator handed me a note that the Housing Authority is already special municipal. That's not the issue. The issue is whether you can have one member of a commission. I mean, you are going to be a member of the commission, correct?
I understand that, yeah.
Yeah. Whether you can have one member of the commission, regardless of how they got to the commission, become a special municipal employee without every other member of the commission also occupying that post. And what I'm saying is that in my experience, to have one member made, all of the members have to be made. And I understand the art in trying to call it a liaison position and try to segregate it out, but that's not typically the way it's done. And Patrick, as you point out, just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it can't be done.
Exactly.
And I understand that.
And you may be right, but I think
Well-
maybe a little research might.
No, I'd be happy to look
Be
into
good.
it. I will say my batting average is pretty high, but that's not to say I haven't struck out now and then.
You know, they sometimes they say 10% chance of rain, and it rains.
With the board's agreement, we'll schedule this back for next week, and Mr. Bowen will come back with an answer for us. We also need to look at some of the ones we've done already. Mr. Bowen?
No,
Also need to look at a couple that we've already done already in case we have a problem there.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if the board could just forward them to me, I'd be happy to look at them.
Awesome.
Thank you. We'll see you.
Next,
We'll take
Thank
care
you
of
all.
it next week.
Thank you. Next, there'll be policy 0208, discussion and possible vote. Excuse me? Oh, you guys are, just killing me here. He's got nothing else to do. He's just sitting around back there waiting and having a nice time, enjoying this wonderful meeting. Just a guy. He's enjoying this wonderful meeting. I know, it's no big deal. All right, let's do the Harbor Master. Harbor Master, approval of summer shellfish clam locations for June 1st to September 15th. Seasonal soft cell, dock and dinghies. Here we go. Seasonal soft shell clamming.
Good evening.
Hello.
How are you?
Claim.
Good.
I'll try to make this as brief as possible. The first portion is the soft shell clam regulations that we usually put on during the summer months, June 1st through September 15th. This is every year we have to bring this forward to the Board of Selectmen. It's the same approval as I requested last year, no changes.
Okay. Any questions from the board, I guess?
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Any questions from the board? Not heard. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Would you sign that, please? All right, next would be the launch rate policy.
The launch is almost completed. We're just still waiting on a few minor issues with the Coast Guard, nothing serious. They're just getting their paperwork in order. I'm just going to request to establish the fees that we're proposing and also the rules and regulations for our launch operators to adhere to, and passengers as well. It should be in the second packet that I turned into.
I asked the question of the board if people have had a chance to go through and review this carefully or not.
Got it right here.
These are pretty much standardized regulations for.
I understand. I just want to make sure the board
Yep.
has
No, I just.
done their review. Go ahead, Mr. Titlebaum.
As the harbor master said, these are pro forma. These would be in operation in any municipal launch service. Any private launch service would adhere by the same rules, even if they weren't provided by way of regulation.
We're actually a
Okay.
little stricter, too.
Mrs. Whiteside.
I just have a couple of points of interest, I think. Children 16 years of age or younger must be accompanied by an adult. Okay,
Correct.
and wonderful. Passengers will only be picked up on docks or vessels. Non-aggressive pets are permitted and shall remain leashed or held during transport. Who's going to decide whether a pet is non-aggressive or not?
It's the launch operator's discretion if
Okay.
they feel the animal is.
No intoxicated, incapacitated persons under the influence of drugs or alcohol will be transported.
Correct.
And again, that's in the launch operators.
Yes, if they're showing signs that it's
Okay.
not in the best interest of them to be transported.
And then all children under the age of 13 shall wear a U.S. Coast Guard approved life jacket
Correct.
at all times.
At all times.
Period.
Period.
End of discussion.
That's
federal
a state
federal and
regulation.
state. Yes, correct.
Mr. Tropiano?
I'm all set, everybody.
Mr. Holmes?
Yeah, I want to visit number 7. I don't think that's a good enough answer, Gary.
Okay.
What?
I
Number 7?
maybe it should be no pets.
We have a lot of boaters that launch
I
that
am
carry
no,
animals.
I'm a
and-
boater, right? I understand that.
Absolutely.
But you're not going to sit there and say that it's up to the discretion of the launch driver who doesn't know the pet. How does he know the pet or she know the pet? You're only seeing them standing there. They get on a boat with 10 other people, and the dog is vicious or animal is vicious because you don't limit it to dogs.
I just don't think.
And then we
they're-
have a
I'm sorry about
problem.
that.
We have a problem on our hands, right?
Well, I mean, there's no real policy for any other launches that operate. They just take the animal that's on board, and they usually go in. It's only usually
I
a small
understand.
animal, but we just tried to put something in place where there's some discretion, where there was none with a regular launch service.
Mr. Titlebaum?
I think the launch operator is going to know if the German Shepherd is wagging his tail and nuzzling people. I think he's going to know that that's a fairly friendly dog. If the ears are pinned back and the teeth are showing and there's some growling going on, I think we have to trust in the discretion of the launch operator to make common sense decisions.
I'll be more than happy to address.
I think we
address
need
this.
to.
That's fine.
You know, parents of Dobermans thought their pets were friendly before they killed their babies too.
Yep.
You know?
I'm
And to leave
fine
it
with
to a
addressing
launch, to leave it to a launch operator who has no idea about the pet, right? That's all I'm saying. And if you allow the pet on the launch, and something happens, and the pet is aggressive and hurts somebody, there's no, I don't see anything on here unless I'm missing it that says we're not responsible for that. It sounds like you're saying we are responsible because the launch driver made the decision that it was a non-aggressive pet without even knowing the pet.
There's a discretionary in number 13. I mean, I'm more than happy to take it out or whatever you want to do with it.
I think we just need to look at number 7 to make sure we're on good, solid ground.
Mr. Tropiano?
All right, so I've been in harbors all over the place. Block Island, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, just about all up and down the coast, everywhere with my boat over the years. And all of the launch, including Rhode Island and everybody else, allows pets. And the launch operator, who, by the way, is licensed by the Coast Guard, has either a launch operator's license or a 6-pack license or some kind of a license.
Has to have a launch license.
Yeah, well, he can have a 6-pack license, or he can have a captain's license.
Correct.
Some guys will actually have a full-fledged captain's license, like myself. Now, I have a 100-ton master's license, and some of the guys are like myself that are older will take those jobs for the summer just for something to do. So, and they're usually pretty well in tune with those kinds of issues. Not just for that, but I mean people. I mean, there's alcoholics and everything else using these launches back and forth, and they have to pay attention to this stuff, and they do a heck of a job. And a lot of times, you'll even see the dogs, by the way, wearing life vests. I don't know how many times I've seen that. It's really kind of cute. Yeah, well, some of the little ones have handles, other ones just have life vests because they're working, and it works everywhere else. And I don't see why it won't work for us. Honest to God, I don't want
Pat,
to
listen,
diminish
I'm a
what
boater,
you're
I
saying
have
because I
pets,
understand.
Pat. All I'm saying is, take it out. Don't put that in there in writing. I mean, I've taken my pets on launches over in Falmouth. and
I'm
up
more
and
than
down
happy
the
to
coast.
remove it. That's fine.
I'm just saying, when you put that in, and then you say that the driver is responsible for that, making that decision, it just take it out. I mean, why does it even have to be there?
Mr.
Yeah.
Titlebaum?
That's all I'm saying.
If you just take it out and you don't cover the issue, then you're going to run into a problem with the launch operator when he says, hey, that dog's acting up, I don't want it on the launch. and then you've got nothing in here for the launch operator to stand on.
I'd
So
like
it
to
needs to
ask
stay
counsel-
in, it needs to be as it is.
Could we ask council
Mr.
to
Bowen?
weigh in on this for us, please? As far as, I mean, this happens everywhere, but I just.
Yeah, but is it written down, Patrick? That's
Yeah,
the
I think it
question.
does. It says that usually everywhere you go, they got signs.
If you allow pets on the launch, you leave yourself open to the liability for what happens to the pets, or what happens to the other riders on the launch. I mean, it's as simple as that. Derek and I were having a little sidebar here. Yeah, you could put disclaimers on tickets. You can put disclaimers everywhere.
Won't matter.
I don't think that's going to help you. You know, you go to the ball game, and on the back it says you're not responsible for throwing bats and throwing balls. That never stopped anybody from suing the Red Sox or anybody else. You know, it really doesn't matter what language you have in there. If you allow pets in the boat, you're going to be liable, and that's the bottom line.
Well, same thing with people, though. I mean, you allow people in it, you got the same liability.
Yeah, one drunk and 3 punches, and you could be
Exactly.
on the hook for a lot more money than a dog bite.
Everybody, let's hold one at a time. Please be recognized. This is Whiteside.
Maybe we could change the language to be, pets are permitted when crated.
I don't
No,
think
it's
so.
not-
Now,
It's not going to be on the boat.
Leashed or under control, I think, is primarily what we're looking for.
I think all you can do is, again, if everybody's done, is to lease them. I've been boating probably for 35 years, and I used to have dogs we used to bring and things like that. I've never, ever run into it. If the dog is on a launch, I don't care what happens, you're still liable no matter what you say.
I've never heard of anybody getting bit, to be honest with you, and I've been doing this for 35 years, 40
I've
years.
spoke to a lot of communities and private places, but they do transport.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
whatever
would
the board
ask-
would like to.
I would ask one thing, Gary, that on your launch operators, make sure you don't have anybody that had a bad experience in childhood is afraid of dogs to
Yep.
start with, because then you run into an issue.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Oh, I mean,
It's okay.
I turned that back over to you.
No big deal. Go ahead.
You know, it just,
We're an equal opportunity
The-
place.
well, Mr. Chairman, how's that?
Sounds good.
The question whether you want to let pets on the launch is a policy question, and you know, you'll decide that the way you want to decide it. But if it's the policy desire to have pets on a launch, yeah, crates, muzzles, if people carry those things, but another way to skin the cat, if you forgive the metaphor, is to provide that if people want, you know, cats are usually pretty harmless, but dogs or pets transported from a boat to shore, that it be a dedicated trip. And if somebody wants to
Absolutely.
transport a pet, then just set it up that way. If
That's a good idea.
And
if
we're
you have to charge more for that, then
Yeah.
so be
That's a
it.
good idea.
and we're in close proximity to a
It
quick,
takes us it takes your guy off
Exactly.
the hook for making that decision when something goes
and it
wrong.
allows us a quick turnaround, because anywhere you go in the harbor, you've got a 3 or 4 minute ride, so that's not bad. And I'd rather, you know, we'll put that boat alone and we can do a transport. If it's a small, whatever it is, you know, I can understand it being fine. But if it goes a little bigger than that, then we'll
Quick
stress
pet
it with
ride
the.
in and out.
Yep.
I mean, we're not
That's,
talking like,
I feel fine with that one.
think
That's
that's-
I'm sorry.
absolutely.
Well, we're not talking about transporting a mile here.
That's a great solution.
Everybody
Thank
else
you.
set?
Yes.
Good King Solomon.
Hey, Mr. Chair, I wanted to thank Mr. Buckminster for all his time he's putting into this. We're asking the department heads to think outside the box, and he's being very entrepreneurial, if you will. It's bringing more revenue into the town and into the businesses in the onset area. So we've got them by the land, sea. I'm waiting for the proposed helicopter pad to get him by air. But he's put the amount of work going into this and going forward. I appreciate all the efforts, and they're starting to say some things that I don't think we often hear. We need to do what Wareham is doing. So I appreciate it.
We've actually had the city of New Bedford is working with us right now to start a program similar to what we're doing, and they're using all of our information to create a similar program.
All right.
Um,
I'm sorry.
I was going to make a motion.
So
I had just one more question.
Well, hold on, please. Go ahead, Mr. Holmes.
Gary, on the back.
Yep.
Are we really going to take a $3 check?
That's how we accept all the way around. It's
Cash only. We can't say cash only.
we can. It's just
You know, for a $3 check, it costs us more than $3 for you to transport the
I
money from the
understand.
guy.
We
down to
just
town,
we
go
take
put it in
them
the bank.
already. So
Costs us
It's,
15
everywhere
bucks.
I've ever been, it's cash only. I've never
that's
seen
fine.
one take
Absolutely.
a check. Never seen one take a check from ever.
Next thing you know, we got $35, right?
Yep.
For
The
$3.
a majority of the cash flow is going to be taking place through our main office on the pier anyway, unless somebody were to go to one of the marinas or the yacht clubs, and we carry receipt books, and we have to log all the passengers, so there's a few fail-safes to make sure that 10 passengers were aborted,
Right.
10 passengers paid, and then we can cross it with our Coast Guard requirements as well as what we collect.
Okay,
So
that's good.
I think that it's pretty much foolproof, and we've got a great crew this year.
Very
so
good.
Yeah, I think that, somebody comes
Yep.
To the office, yet that's your discretion, however you handle
Yep.
the office, for like a $300 seasonal
Yep.
pass or something. If you take check for your normal routine business, I
Gotcha.
wouldn't have an issue with that.
And we
But
tried
in terms
to.
of the launch itself,
Yep.
I wouldn't be taking checks down there.
No, that's fine. We would do it for probably the 10 punch card, something of that nature. But small figures like that.
So-
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, one more thing before the motion. So do we agree to just scrap number 7 off of this list? Totally,
No.
just take it off?
No, because the launch operator can make a decision if the dog he feels is aggressive, he's not comfortable taking it, then he doesn't have to take the dog.
At all.
I
At
thought
all.
the pet was going to go on a separate
He
boat.
is.
Yeah, but
He's
his,
not gonna take an aggressive dog anyway.
Would you like to add council's wording into that?
I mean, if you,
Yes.
I would like to just clean 7 up a little bit, that's all.
I mean, if
I'm
you-
fine with it.
okay.
Gotcha.
I'll take
I'm
him,
fine with whatever Rich decides.
we'll take this with a motion, including Mr. Bowen's
I move
unwritten
Scribner's.
Scribner's error.
I move that the launch regulations and users' fees as proposed by Mr. Buckminster, the harbor master, and as discussed by this board, be adopted immediately,
Second.
Subject to the changes suggested.
subject to the changes in Scrivener's errors.
Scribner's for Mr. Bowen.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Mr. Chairman,
Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to echo what Mr. Sullivan said about our harbor master. Very diligent, very hardworking, an outside-of-the-box thinker.
Can you wait till he's
He's
done?
not done.
Not done yet.
Got one more
That's
thing
okay.
to
I want to
do.
be motivated. I want to be motivated to stay for the rest of it.
Well, I think it's across the board. I think it's the boards. It's everyone. It's people are pulling together. We have a team here, and it's nice to feel that way. So.
Dinghy dock regulations and fees. Mr. Buckminster, you're up.
Prior to some of the bylaw changes of Section 2 and 2A, we had passed a dinghy dock fee for Onset Pier, which was $50, and senior citizens 65 and over, it was free. I'm asking the board to readdress it, and we have to make it work with the new bylaws for making it a $75 fee across the board. And I'd also like to see this carry over to Tempest Knob Boat Ramp as soon as the final approvals for the expansion to the dock is finalized. We do
Question?
limit it to 25 vessels in both locations.
Question?
Go ahead, Mrs. Whiteside.
Thank you. Scrivener's error.
I did see one myself.
Good. The dinghies is not possessive.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry. I think this is wonderful.
They're hanging out in the street corners again.
Almost got by.
Oh, my God. I thought it was going to make it, but it didn't quite make it. Okay.
Okay, I'll move the dinghy dockage fee and regulations be adopted immediately as proposed by Mr.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? Oh,
Aye.
sorry, Mr. Holmes?
Yeah. I'm sorry to be a pain in the ass, but I write these things all day long, and some of this stuff drives me nuts. Gary,
Yes.
number 4. Dinghy permits will not be issued to harbor service permit holders whose boat is not within a reasonable distance. What is a reasonable distance?
Going to Wareham,
Can you
Vermont.
just say within 25 feet or 30 yards or 50 yards? If I'm at 51 yards and you like me, I'm reasonable. If Alan's at 50
What I'm trying to do is
and you don't, he's not reasonable.
But I don't want to have somebody that doesn't have a boat that's readily available to them sign up for a spot there. So if you have, Lake Tempest Knob, I wouldn't want to have people that have dinghies down moorings down Weeweeannick tying up at Tempest Knob to go out to them. I'm trying to keep it more isolated to the locations where the docks are at.
Yeah, I'm just questioning the word reasonable, that's all. And isn't there a distance? Number 4.
It pretty much
is
covers
what I'm talking
Onset. It pretty much just covers Onset Harbor. So anything within the mooring fields of Onset Harbor, going out to Burgess Point, which there really isn't anybody there that needs dinghy dock space, and a lot of the stuff in Broad Cove and Sunset Cove, they don't need it to because they already have it they pulled up on the beaches over there.
Okay.
This is just strictly for.
That's fine. But I'm asking about
Yep.
number 4, and I'm asking about a reasonable distance. Not about whether I have 2 or 3 boats, or what is a reasonable distance to the mooring?
A safe travel.
See number 4?
with
Are we on the same page?
yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
So what's a reasonable distance? Can we not specify 50 yards, 30 yards?
Could I list
100
within?
yards?
Or I could change it to within Onset Harbor.
Well, we're also talking about Tempest Knob too. right?
Yes, correct.
I just want to make sure that
No, that's fine,
if
absolutely.
somebody complains, right, and they come in here, because that's going to happen, and they're going to say he's being unreasonable with me, and he's reasonable with somebody else. I just want to know, you're going to make up your mind to say what's reasonable or not, right? Do you have a targeted distance in mind that you can just put in the policy and say a reasonable distance is 50 to 100 yards or 50 to 75 yards, or, you know what I mean? It just takes away this is a policy, so you want to be kind of specific, right?
Yes.
And if you can take away the word reasonable, I'd really appreciate that, and put something in there.
We could change it to cover Onset Harbor, and for the Tempest Knob, we'll use
fine.
the Wareham
That
River.
would be good.
Mr. Titlebaum?
Then it takes away the questions, Gary, you know what I mean?
No. Absolutely.
I guess one of the things we're trying to figure out here is how far is somebody willing to row from shore to get to their boat.
And some of them are motored too. So
If you're worried about somebody having a dinghy at Tempest Knob and rowing over to Cremisa, I would say,
Not happening.
I'm not going to say it's not going to happen. You'll find the one nut who will do it. I would think 1 nautical mile should be sufficient distance. Nobody's going to row more than a mile to their boat. And you don't want to get down to 50 yards, but I can tell you at Tempest Knob, that would preclude about 3/4 of the moorings out there, because most of them are well offshore from 50 yards.
okay, I will. What I'll do is I will work with the.
But at least it's a distance, and that will satisfy Selectman Holmes's
Not
request
me.
for a criteria.
I got to sit here and listen to the complaints after, so I'm just saying.
And I
as
don't
a
want you to
board,
have
if
to
you're
have
gonna
that,
set a policy, let's set a policy. Don't leave it open-ended, right?
Mrs. Whiteside?
Yes, I just have a couple of things. Item 4, whose is incorrect. Item 8, dinghies, incorrect.
Okay.
And could you please tell me what you mean by number 10? Use at your own risk. The town of Wareham is not responsible for any lost, stolen, or misplaced persons.
Properties or belongings. We've had it on other things that have been brought up.
Persons?
Just carrying over what the town's used before.
That may save us in a lawsuit in the future.
I don't think it would.
I'm satisfied that this is a very good
And
policy.
I think we can change the dinghy. I like the 1 nautical mile if you'd like to use that wording, if you're okay with that.
Yeah,
just-
that works fine.
Okay.
I think it's kind of crazy. I mean, I have all the faith in the world in your discretion in this, but, if somebody wants it refined more, fine.
Okay.
Number 9, too. You got to stop making a plural possessive. It ain't.
I have a simple solution. We will run these by Selectman Whiteside. She'll be our official checker.
You'll be
before
getting
we
a call the
publish it.
Monday night prior to.
Yeah.
I move that we adopt the dinghy dockage fee and regulations. I think I already made that motion. It was seconded already. And then Mr. Holmes was...
With the changes on number 4?
Yeah, with
Yes.
the changes
Okay.
on number 4.
Motion by Mrs. Whiteside, who made the second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Tropiano. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained, 500.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you,
Gary,
Gary.
thank you.
Again, thank you for all the work.
No problem.
And
Sorry
also-
for the spelling error.
Also, the parking in the parking area in Onset, Gary.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Now
That
we're
was a
going to
lot of
back
work
up.
also.
I'm sorry it's not complete. I mean, we have to go in phases with it.
It's fine. It's a very difficult project.
We'll get through it.
We're going to go
Thank
back
you.
up to policy, discussion and possible vote on policy 0208. Again, I want to remind everybody that we amended this on April the 15th to change the part where it used to say beaches, now it says use of town property. If everybody remembers, that's what we did. And then there was some discussion of adding some more restriction to this or changing this policy, and that's why it's in front of us.
Correct. I think the issue really revolves around beverages. It's what came up before.
Alcoholic
I'll take any
beverages.
questions from the board on this.
Alcoholic beverages specifically, right? Or beverages?
Well, right now it just says beverage.
Alcohol is-
No, but the question is about alcoholic beverages.
Yeah,
Right.
and whether this board wants to allow alcoholic beverages on town property. Mr. Titlebaum?
Yeah, I mean, that's my understanding of why we're taking a look at this too, because I know there were some questions in the past about whether the board wanted to do this. So I think that's probably the threshold discussion to have here. I think ultimately we have to decide that issue before we take a look and see if there's more to be done with regard to alcohol. So to me, that's the threshold question. We figure that out. Vote. Do we want to keep alcohol on town property? Do we want to allow it? And if so, then what do we do looking at various conditions to impose? How do we assure the public safety? How do we tailor the ability of somebody hosting an event to serve while at the same time protecting the people and keeping control of the alcohol itself? These are all considerations that would have to go in should the board decide that it's okay to do alcohol on town property. If not, then we don't have to get to Part B. That's how I see it.
Mrs. Whiteside?
Thank you. Mr. Titlebaum, I think, has led into what I would maybe suggest as a talking point. Town property can include buildings that you can, in fact, close off, as opposed to parking lots or beaches, which would be much more difficult to contain or close off. Do we want to make a distinction between buildings and property? That would be a question that may allow the use of the library or, the blah blah, but not a beach, not a playground.
Yeah, 'cause we have had the issue where we have allowed alcohol, beer, or wine on certain town buildings, which we call town property. Mr. Holmes?
Mr. Chairman, thanks. I didn't have my hand up, but,
Nope.
yeah, it's an issue. Whether or not we're going to allow alcohol, we've turned down a lot of people who have asked for it. It seems that, for the most part, we've approved indoor building kind of stuff and turned down the outdoor kind of stuff in the past that I can remember. So I think that, that might be one way to divvy it up. If it's indoor inside of a building, it's okay. If it's outside, not okay. Then you have buildings with yards. Do you allow them out in the yard, right? So, I think you can confine it to inside the building and put up a sign that says no alcohol beyond this point, just like restaurants and bars do, right? So I could go along with that.
Mr. Tropiano?
Well, I think This is a tough one, because the reason why it's tough is because on the face of it, you say, well, why are we allowing any alcohol on town property at all? The problem you have is that we have events that the town holds that, you know, is okay. I mean, you want to have something like that. You want it to be okay. We have groups that come together that want to do certain things, and that's the only place they have available to them. Simple. And so it's not as black and white as it might appear. So this policy actually works okay for me now. Although originally I would have said no. But if you look at the policy and you read it a little bit, it says without permission.
Correct.
So that means we get to make the decision every time. So if we think something's not right, or it doesn't work for us, or it looks like it's going to be trouble, or there's anything, we can just say no. Because it's okay. We got it in the policy. We're allowed to do that. And just because we give something to one person doesn't mean we have to give it to another. That's why we are the authority. You know, I always laugh at this because a lot of times people come in here and they want a permit for fuel, or they want a permit for this, or they want a permit for that. And we say, no, no, we're not going to give you one. But we give a guy down the street one. It's okay. We're the licensing authority. We put them where we think is best for the town. That's our job. So this kind of gives us that same leeway. We can say yes or we can say no, depending on whether we think it's good for the town or bad for the town. And I think that's where I'd like to be with this.
What I would do is, I think, is just poll the board. Do we want to leave this policy as it is and stay where it is, or do we want to make any change? Mr. Titlebaum?
Leave as is for now, but I reserve the right to change my mind in the future. What got me thinking about this in a little bit different fashion, I guess, than Selectman Tropiano, was the fact that we did have the Oyster Festival, where there was alcohol served outside. It all seemed to go quite well.
Yes.
We had fairly small crowds. They were easily contained. You could have a designated area in which to purchase and consume the alcohol, and it all seemed to flow fairly well. But there are other events in town that are quite a bit larger, and it could be that those folks may want to have alcohol at their events in the future. I don't know that they do, but it could be somebody else comes before us with something for a larger event with many more people. You know, you can take a look at the city of Boston, and just to show you how even a large municipality like that, with lots of people to help them arrive at decisions and a lot of expertise in alcohol dating back to 1630, the Boston Red Sox first applied to the city to be able to close off Yawkey Way, I think it's 2 hours before game time, in June or July of 2002. They did not receive a permit from the Boston Licensing Board to actually do that until November of 2003. So you've got a 100-year-old organization seeking to serve alcohol just outside a place where they've been serving alcohol inside of it for 100 years at the time, and yet it took them that long to wrestle with this. So I just want us to be mindful when larger people come forward, the risks are greater. We have to be more careful. We have to set firmer conditions. And when we do allow alcohol outside, you know, if you say you're serving alcohol in the library, it's pretty easy to figure out what the library is and where you can serve alcohol. You know, it stops at the door, end of story. When you're dealing with an outside area, I really think that we should be asking applicants who come before the board to provide some kind of a plan, whether it's an assessor's map. I mean, I don't think we need to make them go hire a surveyor, but at least have an assessor's map so we can take a look at it and say, well, we want you to restrict your alcohol service and consumption to this portion of the property, and to be able to have something in front of us that we can all look at, recognize, understand what it is, and set the appropriate conditions. So I don't know that you have to formalize all that in a policy, but I think we need to start thinking in those lines when these individuals come forward, as Selectman Tropiano suggested.
Mr. Holmes?
I don't know. I think you do have to treat people the same. And, you know, to Mr. Teitelbaum's comments just now, then if that's the way the board is leaning, Pete, you can't just wait until somebody puts an application in, and then you have to have that stuff on some kind of a checklist or on the application, because we do require, the 15 days. And it should be on there. If you are going to have an outdoor event or a large event, we want to have this map, or we want to have this. You don't want to wait until the night of and then say, oh, let's look at the map, right? So you want to make sure that if you're going to tie some kind of conditions on there, that we have it on our checklist, right, for the application. But I disagree with treating one group or one group of people different than the other. Having somebody come for a business permit or a gas thing is much different than this, where one group comes in and says, I want to serve beer and wine on the main street in Wareham, and everybody jumps up and down, yeah, that's okay. And then, a group from Onset, be it the Blues Festival or the Triathlon or Cape Verdean Festival, and we have festivals down there every weekend. And to say that, oh, you're too big, or, we're not too, you can't do that. So I think if we're going to do that, Patrick, I think you have to set some kind of standard up front, and not just leave it at the discretion every time. Oh yeah, Mike will do that for you, but John, we won't do that for you. I think that could run us into some issues down the road. I'm trying to prevent that from happening with a policy. If you set a policy, you go by the policy. The policy doesn't change every time somebody different comes in the room. And I think that could lead us to a slippery slope. So that's my take on it.
Mr. Tropiano.
I totally, I understand where you're coming from, Steve, but I'm not so nitpicky like that, I guess. I think it depends on what they're doing, what the circumstances are, how many people are there, how many policemen are available, all kinds of things. I'm not saying that a particular organization should be treated differently than another, but I think it has to be weighed on what's going on. I mean, if one of them has elephants marching down the street, you'd think about what those elephants are doing in opposed to what license you're going to give them or what you're going to allow them to do, because of course they play a big role. I mean, I'm exaggerating, and I'm exaggerating for a purpose. The point is that every situation is different, and every situation has to be handled differently, and it doesn't make any difference who the group is. It just makes a difference in what situation they present to us of how we handle it. That's all. And I think the policy allows us to do that.
Mrs. Whiteside.
I originally didn't like the policy very much, and I think I've changed my viewpoint on it. It is specific. It says no activity shall be permitted on any town-owned property, including beaches, without a permit from the office of the selectmen. Period. I don't think that people think about town property having to have a permit to use it. You know what I mean? I'm not sure that people think about that. I know that people get a permit to use the gazebo to get married, for instance. But to have a festival that is centered in Onset, I don't know, what kind of permits are usually.
Yeah, they have to come in and we approve them all the time. They have to come in and use that form.
But this doesn't talk about one of the interesting things that comes up. Who's picking up after all of this stuff?
It's in the forms that they have, it's in the forms that they fill out. They have to go through and explain what they're going to do with trash, et cetera. They have to get sign-offs from every particular town department
so that
as well.
The town is not responsible for picking up the trash.
They have to be responsible for everything.
Who is they?
The organization running the event. That's part of the form that we have now.
And then it says here that permit conditions shall include insurance. You don't say what kind of insurance, at a level specified by the town, which names the town as additional insured.
We have that form on file for anyone who comes in for an application. We have a model form which they have to basically provide a binder, certificate of binder with those same dollar values.
But it says which names the town as additional insured. Who's the first insured?
The event, the people running the event have to have their own insurance. So they're already covering themselves. So you have to have a binder.
So is it co-insurance?
It's an addendum to their policy covering the town of Wareham for that event, in addition to themselves.
Okay.
It's typical what they do.
Okay. And then, does our packet also include the parking fees and all of the correctly named fields, parking lots,
No.
et cetera?
The answer is no, because we've adopted this policy, but we haven't updated that. I think what we,
It does specify. It says all town property
no,
used for parking.
we're talking about the actual application form, doesn't it?
Oh, the application.
I think what I'd like to do is
Well, why doesn't it?
pull the application form, put this back, take a look at it, and we make some changes. I'm not comfortable when we leave something that have some kind of parameters to it, and it's left to 5 people to make a decision, because you could always end up with, I hate to use the word, but you could end up with personalities and other things involved, and I'd like to take that out of the mix of the selection process. So what I'd like to do is just pull the form that we have, because I think we have some problems with the form. Let's fix that first, and then we can just hash out as we've done before and come up with something that works for everybody,
That's fine.
if that's good for everybody.
That works, Al.
Yeah, with the exception of, I have to disagree with you on the point that, it has to be so defined that if you fill all the boxes, that you're just an automatic, because that doesn't give us the flexibility.
What it is I'm probably going to be at one end, someone else is going to be the other, and we're going to come up with something in the middle.
That's fine.
That's all.
That's fine. I get your point, but,
Yeah.
I like a little more flexibility. That's all.
I always look, when I do anything at all, I represent the town of Wareham, and for me, I'm looking to minimize any risk to Wareham.
And I know that, Alan. I
And that's
know
where I
you
am.
do, and I understand that. I'm not trying to.
No, that's where I come from. Mr. Titlebaum.
Yeah, in concert with that, I'm actually trying to think for some language in here that will actually specify in the policy statement, just briefly, just a phrase or a clause, that conditions issued with the permit may be decided at the discretion of the board. So that just makes it clear that it's not simply checking off boxes and you get what you want. We can't write a policy that's going to fit every situation, because it'll be 2,000 pages long, and it'll have Mr. Bowen's fingerprints all over it and a lot of his time. Well, you know what I'm saying. I don't think you want to undertake this. It's a lot of work. But I do think we need something in here that does specify that we have the authority to impose the conditions necessary to assure a safe event. But going forward, we also do need, if we're going to ask people to come in with a plan and an assessor's map, then that should be part of the application, as Selectman Holmes said. That should be right on the face of it, so that they know what to do when they pick up the application. Oh yeah, I got to stop down here and get that, and then I got to do this, and then I got to do that. Make it easier for them, so they don't come here and get clouded upside the head because they didn't know what it was we were looking for.
Or there was misunderstanding what we agreed to or not. Mrs. Whiteside.
Now I'm beginning to have problems with the wording. It says, well, no, leave me alone long enough and I'll figure it out.
I know.
It says in the first line, commercial activity, and then it says commercial activity, and then it says private purposes. Those are not the same thing.
They're not the same.
So this is going back to the drawing. I understand that, but it doesn't address them equally, equitably.
If you
So
would,
it needs
if
to
you
come
would
back.
like to just go back and look at the wording and correct that out and bring it back to us too. It'll only take about 5 minutes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Assignment for the grammar lady.
Assignment for the lady.
All right.
I asked for it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Any other town business not reasonably adopted in 48 hours prior to posting?
Mr. Titlebaum?
None.
Mrs. Whiteside?
No.
Nope.
Mr. Holmes? I have one thing that came up today, late in the day. We're not going to have to vote or do anything, but the 11K race that the YMCA is having, they normally finish inside the parking lot, which now, of course, we have kiosks. And we have actually 2 events that we've okayed to use the pier at Onset. And normally we would probably earn anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 between these 2 events with the parking. The issue, I actually met today with Lou Britno at the YMCA, and I think we've come up with a solution that they'll end their event, instead of inside the parking lot on the race, they'll end it with that little, we have a little like semicircle loop that the bus pulls in. They'll end it there, and if they're gonna have anything, they will move up onto the town property up on the hill. So that should take care of that, so we don't lose any income on a Saturday, which is, I think, is the 17th. The other one that I'm concerned about, which we did agree to, which we've had very good success with, is Escape the Cape. They come in on a Friday and basically tie up the whole pier all the way through Saturday as well. And we did approve it, but again, I expect we're gonna have an issue because Mrs. Sullivan, correct me, but we could lose $3,000 to $4,000 in those 2 days alone.
Yeah,
Because that's right at the beginning when the summer starts to hit us.
That could, if it's a sunny day, that could easily reach that for the pier.
What I've done is I've reached out to Tim, he hasn't called me back yet to talk to him about it. I can't get anybody to give me an answer right now because I haven't put it on the agenda. But I just want to let you know this is an issue I think we should look at. I don't want to destroy the event, I don't want to make it difficult, but at the same time, you know, we put on an event that obviously generates a certain dollar amount of business for the onset area. But at the same time, we go out with municipal maintenance, we sweep the roads, we have police on there, and I don't know what the event actually contributes back to the town, you know, for any fees, for all the expenses we have. And right now, we don't have funds to fund these events. I know there's been a lot of complaints with cities and towns with the Pan American Challenge, which is a very high visibility event, but for a lot of places, it's a lot of expense. So I just want to bring that out that we have an issue that we really need to look at.
I think
Unfortunately, they're there like in 3 weeks.
right now, only one community, I think, in Mass does charge details back to the Pan Mass Challenge.
It's politically not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's just something that I'm concerned because, you know, they have to use that pier to make that work because they have a swim. They could switch over to bicycles, then a run. They really don't have any choice. If they want to run their event in Onset, in Wareham, they have to run off that pier. There's no other alternative for them.
Yeah, right, and I think, Mr. Chairman, without any discussion, that, one of the difference for the Escape the Cape issue is that the pier is part of the event.
That's right.
It's not like they're parking their cars there. That is actually part of the event. That's where the swimmers come out, the bikes are staged.
It's all there.
I think they get there Friday around 3 o'clock.
They actually start to close it down early, though. I'm gonna just
And I don't think they're on for Sunday.
no, just 2 days.
This year. It's just Friday night and Saturday.
Yeah,
And
will.
he's out of there by 1 o'clock on Saturday, so we're talking about a half a day of parking.
No, he's there a little later than that.
Well,
It takes him a while.
1:30.
No.
Some of the slower athletes.
The bottom line is, I will talk to Mr. Richmond, I'll get back to the board and put it on the agenda, see if we come up with any accommodation for the town a little bit. We've never asked for anything before. Thank you.
All right, Town Administrator's report, please. You're up, Derek.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Over the last 2 weeks, I want to thank Selectman Whiteside, the Finance Director, Mr. Foster, and the Board Assessor, Mr. Stephen Curry, for taking the time to meet with the applicants for the Director of Assessment position. We received 11 applications. I believe we interviewed 7 altogether. I'm going to ask that I will make the formal request of who we believe should be the candidate and bring it forward to the Selectmen for a vote next Tuesday. I will provide the information hopefully by the end of the week, and we will move forward from there. If you remember, the Director of Assessment's final day was April 18th, and we expect to have the new assessor in here working no later than June 2nd. So that's been a fast turnaround, especially by the standards. So I appreciate all the help for everybody involved.
Thank you. We will put it on the agenda for the 13th then.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm going to check. I have an email from Mr. Ethier here that I want to thank him for his work. It'll probably take forever, so. Mr. Ethier applied to the Mass Division of Public Health, Division of Epidemiology and Immunization, the local health internship program for the 2014. And for the 3rd year in a row, we've been granted an intern to assist with the sampling the 17 designated beaches in Wareham. This year's intern is Carrie Wagner. She has a bachelor's degree in community health from Worcester State University and is currently attending graduate school at the University of Massachusetts, working towards an MS in epidemiology. Carrie is from Lunenburg, Massachusetts, and we appreciate her help and Mr. Ethier working to get that together. Mr. Menard, I was in Onset Center with him today and through some of the other sections, and we're working to get if you saw this winter, the crosswalks did not hold up well, so that's an understatement. They essentially don't exist now, so we're looking to have those temporarily striped. Ultimately, the goal is to get the sidewalk, the striping on there that effectively looks like the brickwork. It is a little bit more expensive, but that is that's visually appealing, especially in a village setting. We note the House budget proposal came through, and we did have an increased revenue of $122,096, and the state giveth and the state taketh. And they charged us an extra $107,619. So we usually stay with the governor's first proposed budget because that's usually conservative, and we don't get into trouble with that. So I appreciate everything.
Mr. Tropiano?
You know, you mentioned lines, and I've been going to say this for a while. You know, the new project we have on Main Street that they just did the last year, they did the bump outs and all that. Did anybody notice that all the lines on the street are faded away?
Yeah, they're all one.
I mean, how is that possible that within one season they're done? Latex paint.
Yeah, I think they originally also had the striping they wanted. The striping they wanted to do was the brick pattern as well. The board chose not to do that, and the result is, we're going to have to restripe that with something more permanent.
What are we thinking about that?
It was $109,000 to do the brick standing.
Well, I mean, how much is it gonna cost us to stripe that thing every year?
We'll probably have to look for more permanent, but just the white and the probably the green that we have down there.
So it won't look as nice.
It will not, unless you're Irish.
I've already christened one of those brand new bump outs.
Yeah, I've heard.
Just one?
Everybody knows.
This is the title bomb.
Yeah, I was going to add, with the conclusion of what I think is this latest phase of the streetscape where we're heading into spring, I would like to see us go back to the white and green ones. They provide a much better visibility path for drivers. And, it seems to me that it was a lot safer crossing Main Street when you had the green there that at least alerted people. Just the two white stripes going across accomplishes absolutely nothing. They're not very visible. Obviously, they don't hold up. To the point about having to paint them every year.
We used to have
for whatever
cones.
reason, they close them off.
We used to have the cones in the middle of the street.
Yeah, exactly. You drive through a midnight.
You can't put a
okay
cone
with
through there now because the street's not wide enough.
Well, there you go. But I remember, I think 4 years in a row, I came back through town and had to divert up the High Street. I managed to come back late at night, whatever it was, and had to go up High Street to get off of Main Street because they had closed off, part of Main Street, whatever, to keep you from driving over the fresh paint. So I think annual painting has become a tradition.
Just as a quick note, I'm sure everybody has noticed, but Mr. Pina was having put up today the new Live, Play, Work in Wareham signs that went right down Main Street. If you're coming from the Narrows into there, it makes the place really light up. It really looks good. And the board should thank Mr. Pina. He promised the project would get done. It got done substantially ahead of schedule, and it was tough for a couple of weeks, but he was down. I probably saw him at least 7 different times down on Main Street, talking to the merchants, explaining what was happening, doing everything he could to make it work. And I would ask again the citizens of Wareham to please, if at all possible, shop at those merchants on Main Street. They put up with a whole bunch of stuff in the last year, and they need your help. Thank you.
All right, next on the list is liaison reports.
Mr. Titlebaum,
No liaising was done.
Mrs. Whiteside.
Some liaising was done. I'm going to be attending the Board of Health meeting tomorrow where they're going to be discussing the Bourne Motel bill model.
I think we have that up on our agenda for next week.
Right, and they have it on their agenda for tomorrow. So it's a bill that limits the amount of time that
You can stay.
people can stay in a motel.
Mr. Holmes.
No, I think at this point, Mr. Bowen, the big issue I have on liaison reports is the Bay Point project. Mr. Bowen, we had met with Mr. Sullivan and the owner of the property. Mr. Sullivan has directed Mr. Bowen to come up with some written suggestions on how we get this project moving forward. Last week, I know that he had some more discussions with the owner, so I think certainly when Mrs. Connaughton comes back, for the monthly CEDAR meeting, or Sal, when they come in, and this definitely needs to be a huge item on our agenda. This is a huge project that's low ball and conservative. Is about $500,000 a year in tax revenue to the town. And if we're not going to get up and move towards this project, shame on us. They are at a point at a board level where they're going to move to Plan B, and the town of Wareham doesn't want that to happen. So they've been trying to work with us for almost a year now. I mean, it's a huge tax revenue. I think the number's closer to 6 from what I've seen. But we could certainly use that revenue and have a beautiful project down there. So maybe next week we could put Mr. Bowen on, and he can share his conversations and bring us up to speed. And then at the next CEDAR presentation, we can ask them to put that on the agenda as well.
I wasn't going to do because we did CEDAR just like a week or so ago, just before town meeting.
Right.
We wouldn't normally put them back on again the first week of
That's fine.
June. But is
Yeah,
that
that'll work,
enough time?
right, Mr. Bowen? You think by then we'll have something to present to this board? Yeah. Okay.
Well, if that is okay, then we'll do is next week I'll put it on the agenda just for a report for status from you. Okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I just think we need to keep it public here. We need to keep this thing, we need to keep our eye on the ball.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else?
You
That's
all
it?
set?
No, I'm all set.
Okay, I've got a few as always. The bike path, the state is coming down, I believe it's next week on a Wednesday. They're going to go at Sandwich Road. They're going to take a look at the alternative of maybe going up Sandwich Road and coming around to get back into Onset. We'll be meeting with them, I think it's 10 o'clock in the morning. We'll have a meeting tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I've got a meeting with on the Public Safety Action Committee with the police department, the 2 fire departments, EMS, et cetera. And we'll be meeting to talk about, again, a public safety complex, to getting the basics put together for some kind of consensus for each one of the stakeholders. And then we're coming back and meeting after that, probably in a week or 2, to talk about what we're actually looking for to do and having a project that will possibly come forward. On the regional, actually, before that, I have a meeting I'm scheduling for next week with the 2 municipalities and the town to talk about what we've talked about for quite a while, is finding areas where the 2 municipalities, which is the fire and water districts, may have synergies where they can work together, save some money, and do some things together, and also where the 2 municipalities in the town of Wareham may have some similar types of things to do. So we're actually going to get this started. We've talked about it off and on. We basically, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we took it back, and everybody assigned me to do these 2 tasks, and they're up and running again. And hopefully we'll have some results shortly. And I'm also working on, just so everybody understands, I've contacted several of the towns around us. I have 3 more to go, and I'm going to try and set up within a month a regional meeting of the towns to sit probably somewhere in Wareham or a convenient central place and talk about again, working together for finding places where we can save money by working and looking at our services and seeing what we can find. Thank you.
Okay. Next is the consent agenda. We have minutes from April 28th. I move that we approve the minutes of the Selectmen Sewer Commissioners meeting from April 28th,
Second.
2014.
Motion by Mr. Tropiano, second by Mrs. Whiteside. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
500. Oh, sorry, 501.
Right.
Sorry.
401.
401.
Okay, next, I move that we approve the minutes of the Selectmen Sewer Commissioners meeting from April 22nd, 2014.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Tropiano, second by Mrs. Whiteside. Any questions? None heard. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
302.
Okay, I move that we approve the minutes of the Selectmen Sewers Commissioners meeting from April 29, 2014.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mr. Tropiano, sorry. Second by Mrs. Whiteside. Any questions? None heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
Four-
Patrick,
401.
Mr. Chairman. Patrick, could you go, I didn't see the 22nd. 22nd. I think I missed that. Have you got it there? If I was here, would you change me from abstain to present?
You were not. You were not.
22nd? Okay. That was before, the week before?
Week
Yeah,
before town
okay,
meeting.
yeah. All right, just want to make sure. Thank you.
All right, and
Motion.
that ends the meeting for tonight.
So
Motion
moved.
to adjourn?
Mr. Holmes made the motion, second by Mr. Titlebaum. All those in favor?
Aye.
500.